Hello, I wanted to make a video about how should one regard the pet. I mean, what even is the pet? So there are, I see many misconceptions, weird ideas. The most common one is the middle path being the path of moderation. So their proposition is that the Sammasambuddha, which comes like once in an aeon or something, has awakened. You know, the heavens have shaken. Yeah, the gods start singing whatever because the Buddha has awakened to the path of moderation. You know, it's not that it's like every other person knows that moderation is better. Even in mundane terms, almost everyone knows, everyone acknowledges. So, and when I say to those persons, those people, look, the literal sutta, when he described the middle path, it says, by abandoning sensuality, Tathagata has awakened to the middle path. And the other person says, well, that doesn't really sound like the middle path. It sounds like an extreme, you know. So it is an extreme from the point of view of sensuality. And you don't um, have the right point of view to judge which is extreme and which is what is not extreme, because you're already living at an extreme. So for you, moderation is very extreme from the point of view of the middle path. So if I could change that name, just to give the better implications, the meaning, I would change it not the middle way, but subtle direction. The main point, the most important point of it being very hard to see and acknowledge. And the path part is usually has taken something like mundane paths, uh, just something that you could just imitate, take step by step. Step one, put the noodle into the water like that. You can just read and 10 steps to enlightenment or something. But it's not like that at all. So, but people take that, even um, somewhat learned Buddhists take that as a steps, or they just know what the path is, they assume. And that just doesn't work. So how are you going to follow this so-called path? And I start reading. Oh, okay. Level 1, the truth of suffering. Okay, there is suffering in the world, out there in Africa or something. People are suffering, supposedly. And step 2, cause of suffering is, greed. So greed capitalist, and they just what do you call it? Subjugate all these other poor people and whatever, the class, the Marxism and whatever. They just take it completely in the wrong way. So they have no clue what the Buddha was talking about. They're completely blind to their internal engine of suffering. Let's put it like that. So, the first thing you want to do, even before you don't understand the path. Okay? You want to align your values with the path. So the path is actually the value system, not the whole thing, but overall value and perspectives and the directions of an enlightened being. What he values, how he dwells, how he regards the world, something like that. Let's say the direction of his existence, directionality of his existence. That's the middle path. So, and you don't have it. Your directionality is not towards the middle path or the subtle direction. Your direction is the path of sensuality, path of the world, path of the grain. So you have to acknowledge it. And if you read the text, it's there. When the Buddha was not enlightened, he was the Bodhisattva, unenlightened Bodhisattva, living at home, householder, in living extreme sensuality, all kinds of pleasures. What was the first thing he asked himself when he had that spiritual, urge, that quest, whatever, and he wanted to go that direction? He asked himself, why does my heart jump at the prospect of sensuality? That is the first question the Bodhisattva asked himself. So, how many people, how many Buddhists have asked that question? So, did he, for example, say, oh, I am just a Bodhisattva, I am not trying to be an Arya or something. I don't need to be restrained, I don't need to be celibate or anything. I am just perfecting these imaginary perfections or something. Or did he say, oh, I don't need to be, I am just a Putujana. I'm not an Anagami or something. I don't need to be celibate. Did he say that? Nah. Or did he say, oh, I just need to temporarily, restrain so I can just jump to the point of enlightenment or something? First, he said, why does my heart jump at sensuality? So that's the level of your concern. That should be your investigation. Why does my heart jump at those prospects of pleasure, those directions? Why am I leaning to those directions automatically? So, and if you can fill the blanks, he realized he can't just not, make his heart not jump at the wheel, you know. Oh, stop jumping. No, it stopped. Not like that. He said, what if I were to restrain and let my mind develop with regard to those precious pullings and whatever of sensuality? What if I let my mind develop? And he started restraining when he was a householder, okay? Way before even he set a foot out of the, you know, going homeless. Way before that. And what happened? How did he manage that? Yeah, he started restraining, and he started contemplating those, you know, those values, his values, that what he values, and the values of an enlightened being. For example, he values sensuality, but an enlightened being values non-sensuality. He values, you know, company. An enlightened being values non-company, seclusion. He values, you know, material things, wives, houses, whatever, slaves. He values owning things, stuff. He values accumulation. An enlightened being values non-accumulation. He values abandonment. He values renunciation. So his work started way before the actual, you know, abandoning the house. He started shifting his values by restraining and reflecting on those themes of renunciation, of non-sensuality. Started shifting them. You are like this. This is important. Sensuality, pleasure, owning, money, for example. These were unimportant. Now they start shifting slowly. You just align your values, okay, with the middle path way before you actually see the path. You just direct yourself, you know, this not particular, but overall, this direction is possible. You know, just you have a guess and you direct yourself. Now you don't have to guess. The Buddha gave very somewhat clear goals. You know. So my point is, you don't adopt these precepts as something kind of irrelevant, and you keep those to get this stream entry, enlightenment, whatever. This is like somewhat unrelated. I think most people don't see or don't even question the connection. What's the connection between these values and stream entry? What's the connection? Why do you keep the precepts? Why do you keep the 8 precepts for a week or something? To get the stream entry. Because magically, you know, keeping those precepts, magically, you will attain stream entry. There is no magic involved in any point of Putujana to Ara. There is no magic at all. Okay? It's all development of the mind. So, are you developing the mind? Are you gaining perspective? Are you understanding? Are you making all those connections? Or are you just blindly trying to just imitate things and hoping that you will get this magical enlightenment or something? So I had a discussion on Reddit. I mean, these are supposedly knowledgeable somewhat, and they said jhana is like irrelevant, to the path, because supposedly not all Aryas develop the jhanas. There are like careless. The Aryas that don't really strive or something. So it means jhana is irrelevant. The first problem with that thought is they think the path consists of these individual parts. It's unrelated actually. It's just Legos, this part, just the Buddha has put them all these irrelevant parts all together. Yeah, this is the path. How the hell? why would he do that even? What's the point? And how even did he discover the path? Do you even think about this stuff? How did it come up? Did you read the Sutta when he discovered the path? What did he say? How did he discover? He abandoned this torture, self-torture, and recollected the theme of jhana. And what did he say when he did that? Oh, this jhana, this is just, just one part of the puzzle now I have to discover. Or did he say that? Or did he say, oh, this is the path to enlightenment. This is the way. This is the direction. He literally said that. It's in the Sutta. So you need to make those connections. For example, we had a discussion, always a discussion on self-view, and there are some suttas that are not helpful with regard to this, because the sutta would just go through, the I. Do you regard the I, the sight, the I consciousness as self? Yes. No, sir, Venerable Sir, I don't regard them as self. Okay, you don't have self. And this is just stupid. And people try to just imitate that. Oh, okay, I don't regard, the I, self. They're magically free of self. It's just comical. So, what is self-view? Or what is the sport? What is the sankhara of self-view? Ayosankhara. I-making and mind-making. Taking things as mine. So, and what is the sankhara of that? What is the sport? What is the foundation of taking things as mine? What is the commonality of all the things that you own? You take that as mine. Have you ever thought about that? It's not like you recognize the instant, catch the moment of your consciousness. This is the moment I take this as self or something. Just catch that. Take it back. I try to do that. It's just too fun. does your heart jump at the prospect of taking things as mine? Why? What was? There must be something. For example, do you take these, oozing, smelly plastic garbage bag you see on the road? Oh, this is mine. I won't let this go. Why not? Why not? Your mind does not jump at that prospect because it doesn't see any value. Okay. But for example, the same garbage bag, you suddenly see in that pile of garbage a valuable jewelry. Oh, and there's another person. You will try to take. No, this is mine. No, it's yours. And why? Because you see the prospect of pleasure in there, the value. And that is the mechanism. That is the level that you need to understand and undermine. Okay. You undermine at that deepest level, valuing any pleasure. Why would you value any pleasure? What is the point of even experiencing pleasure? Do you even question that? Yeah. So taking these things these all provide pleasure to me. Okay. That's why I take all these things as mine, and all of them, all these directions, all this leaning sensuality, they provide support for self-view. Okay, you don't just get rid of self-view by whatever you're doing. Oh, this is not self. This is not self. This is body. Oh, all this. This is earth. This is anicca. This anicca. This is not self. Yeah. You're just pasting it over. This is your actual value. You're valuing sensuality. It's like this. It's just foundation. You're just pasting. Oh, this is not self. So what happens now? It's still here. You're not doing anything. That doesn't work. And if you have self-transparency, you'll quickly realize it doesn't work like that. So restraint, okay, becomes that level, that subtle, deep level, not accessible to you normally when you're engaging with sensuality. When you have restraint for a while, for a long time, that level becomes accessible to you. Okay, that's the point. So, with restraint for a long time and questioning, reflecting, that developing that reflective attitude, okay, towards the value of restraint and non-value of sensuality. After a while, you just realize that, I used to depend on all these pleasures. Now, no, I don't have them, but it turns out I didn't have to rely on them. They weren't like necessary as I thought. So that just shrinks the proliferation of your being. Okay, just restraint, even if you don't recognize that. Just the support for your self-view just shrinks, okay? You had this much being before, this much bhava, and now you've been restrained for some years. Your bhava is like this. Oh. And no, you don't have to like theorize, make a theory out of it. You just realize you are less liable to pushing and pressures of sensuality. Your being, your sensual being just shrinks, okay? That is the realization. Required to see the path, okay? That is the direction, that's the sign. Oh, look, there's a path over there. And that's not visible if you haven't been restrained and reflecting for a long time. It's just not visible. You can't just compress that in a week, just all this intense meditation retreat. I just did a 10-day very intense. I mean, it's really hard. I mean, you haven't been developing your body and mind with regard to sensuality. You haven't been reflecting on the values of restraint, non-sensuality, values of seclusion. You haven't been dwelling alone, contemplating, reflecting all day. Okay? That is the attitude and mindset you need to develop. You don't get to have the resolve on non-sensuality, the second factor of the path, by just your mind revolving around sensuality for 23.5 hours. And now for half an hour you just focus on this breath, just this mantra. Just focus on this so I don't think about the usual sensuality stuff. It doesn't work like that at all. Even if you don't actively think about sensuality, your being is directed at sensuality. Your being is supported by sensuality. So you can't actually enforce, your being to not direct itself at sensuality. You just have to restrain and see the value of it. Okay? See your liability diminishing, your being diminishing while you're restraining. And if you do that, there will be, let's say, more subtle and more fundamental directions will be apparent to you. The two fundamental directions, you'll come to realize, you don't have to lean at all. You can just pull out of the whole domain. I mean, you don't see that option normally, okay? It's just developed. The mind needs to be developed to that level. And you can just enforce it by just overdoing your intense meditation. You just need to adopt those values of the Eightfold Path, or subtle direction